How can communication be used to influence others around you? It's important that people understand you. If they have trouble understanding, you should fix that. Speaking requires various skills, but none of them should be used to change who you are. Mike Acker shares how you can speak confidently and be clearly heard by your listeners, how pausing can become a speaking skill, and ways to make your speaking distinctive from everyone else's.
I want to welcome you to the Dominate Your Market podcast, where we interview leaders, CEOs, founders, and high-impact business development professionals to get their insights on how you can grow your business efficiently, build an amazing company, and still have a life. Today's guest is Mike Acker, who is an executive communication coach, a keynote speaker, and the author of, sit down here, everybody, 10 books, including the new one, Speak with Confidence. Mike, glad to have you on.
Hey, great to be here. Excited to dive in, to talk with you, to learn, to give something to your audience here today. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is all about bringing the fire, bud. This is bringing the heat, man. So we jump out of the gate and we get after it. But with that being said, tell our listeners your background, like kind of where you came from, where you got to where you are now. Just kind of lay it all out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love to go way back in time because I think a lot of the times that we look at our life, it's built on the life of someone else that went before us. So really for me, that ultimately ends up being my parents. So my dad was a drug dealer. My mom was a witch. True story.
What?
And my dad built this kind of pre-cartel, hippie, drug smuggler era type business, transitioned into a legit business when he started doing coffee company with my mom because they wanted to have kids. So they had coffee company. They're doing that. They sold it for a great price. When I was around 3-ish or something like that, he ended up going for a bar exam so that he could do his law degree because he already had a law degree. So he went to be a lawyer. And then they had this major life change. And my parents became the type of very conservative, social caring Christians. So we were on the streets of Seattle taking care of the poor. We were helping out AIDS in 1985 or something. And we went to Asia and everything. So where does that have to go into my life? First of all, the choices that they made has really affected me. And really, when we look at our own life, the choices that we make, the choices that you are making right now to listen to the podcast, the choice that you're making right now in your business life, in your personal life, really make your future. And their choices made my future. So at that point, he started just really working with us and really being hands-on with my sister and I. I had a speech impediment. I couldn't say the sounds like "ja." I couldn't differentiate between shoulder and soldier. I couldn't get those two right there. I couldn't make sounds different. They just sounded the same to me. I couldn't make it different. And my mom worked with me. I overcame those speech impediments, ended up doing poetry contests in like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade and other contests like science fairs and stuff, and did well. And then my dad comes home and says, "We're moving to Mexico. I quit my job." So after some nice family conversations, we moved to Mexico when I was turning 11. And that came into this whole era of insecurity, tall, gangly white kid with buck teeth, long blonde hair, stood out from everybody else, goes into a school. I'm the only American. Many of them in that area had never seen an American. So this is kind of crazy. And the insecurity I'm feeling, the all eyes are on me, the laughter, it changed my identity as a speaker. I'd overcome one issue to now I'm having to overcome a new one. I'm having to get up in front of people, and a kid who is relatively serious and such had to lean into being a class clown. I didn't want to be the class clown. I got in trouble a whole bunch. I like to not be in trouble, but I got in trouble a whole bunch because people thought I was being disruptive, and I wasn't. And so then I finally get up to a spot where I'm good. I figure things out. I'm in a good spot with the school. I'm in a good spot with my identity. I'm overcoming some different things, overcoming some bullies and getting beat up and things like that, and move back to the United States and have to find my way during my senior year. I ended up skipping my senior year, going straight to college.
Wow.
And ended up, thankfully, getting involved in a great church and really got some opportunities to be on stage. And then debate team invited me to be part of it and taught me really how to speak. And really, it was there that developed this really foundation of confidence. So for me, this idea of insecurity and confidence has been something so huge. And whether I was an entrepreneur or an NGO leader or consultative sales or an executive, some of my previous roles, I always had to lean into what I had found in confidence. So that brings us up to what I'm doing now. 3 years ago, I'm meeting with a client on the side hobby of kind of coaching people, business coaching, doing stuff just for fun and just to stay relevant with business communication and such. And she says, I just wrote a book. I said, oh, yeah, that's cool. Who published it? She goes, I did it myself. I said, oh, okay. I didn't know that's a thing. Like, tell me about it. So she told me about it. I ended up going, you know, if she can do it, I can do it. And I wrote my first book. I wanted to write this red one behind me called Speak with Confidence, but I realized the framework wasn't quite ready. So I wrote one that's more just kind of like, hey, let's see if this bites. And I wrote Speak with No Fear. It ended up being on a Forbes list, sold 40,000 copies.
Wow.
Publishers were reaching out to me. And all of a sudden, my side hobby just couldn't do it enough. And I ended up switching full-time author, speaking, coaching, and running some businesses. So then finally, a couple of years go by, I'm doing this full-time. I've really built out the framework. And what happened? I decided finally to write Speak with Confidence. And the whole idea in my life is this, that your confidence, your ability to succeed, all of the goals that you have, if you can have confidence and then you can speak, and if you can speak with confidence, combining those two, you have a universal advantage. Whether you're a truck driver, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a doctor, whether you're in marketing, whether you are an executive assistant, whatever you are, if you have the ability to speak and you can have confidence and you can combine those two, you're going to be in a place of universal advantage. So that's where we're at. That's my story. And
no, what a great story. No, what a great story. And you know what? Speak with confidence. I want to talk about that a little bit, and I'm going to twist it even on myself a little bit. So I've had a lot of people say I should be a motivational speaker, right? Like if you read my book, I've read dozens of books on self-motivation, success, growth, mindset, all that stuff. And I do sort of tend to take the lead in talking about it and more of an alpha, right? More that in the front of the pack. But here's one thing I want to ask you and talk to you about. So I've had a lot of people say, slow down how you speak, articulate better, right? So that people can hear you. And when I do that, I sound like a fucking robot. I can't do it. It's not me. It's not who I am. And, you know, there's a lot of speakers out there, and I'll tell you one who's one of my favorite, and his name is Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins is kind of big. Like, I think a lot of people know about him. Well, he's articulate, but he's high energy. He talks fast. He goes and goes. That is more my vibe. So what do you say to people if you were my coach right now and my articulations aren't, you know, I'll kind of slur some words together. I get a lot of people that don't know me that say, what was that again? I do get that often, but I'm almost going to stand strong and say, I refuse to talk like a damn robot. I have to be high energy, passionate. I am who I am.
Yeah. So there's two sides to that. So I love referencing the movie Hitch with Will Smith. I think he shows up in like 3 or 4 different books, and he finds people who have great personalities, great people. They're awesome men, but they don't know how to shine. They don't know how to really look great in front and catch the attention of the person they're going for. So he takes this one guy and they go over to get some shoes for him. And he goes, I don't know, these shoes aren't really me. And Hitch says, you bought these shoes. You look good in these shoes. Use a flexible concept. So he doesn't change the heart of the guy at all, but he does give him a skill to shine. So in the case of what you're talking about right here, I'd see that absolutely it's important for people to understand. And if people can't understand, then that is something you should remedy. Now, the speed and the style can be enhanced without changing who you are. And so when you look at who you are, you got this passion, you got this excitement, you got this energy. Probably what has to happen is working on your articulates and the muscles that go with that. Maybe it's enunciation, and maybe it's just pausing so that people can catch up and lean into what you're saying. In fact, if you listen to Tony Robbins, and I'm kind of doing that more of a fast style today, just kind of matching the style of what you're going for, Mike. But what you see in Tony Robbins and people like that is they'll go really fast and they'll say something. So here's what I want you to see today, that speaking with confidence is going to come from 3 different sources. And then they'll have a pause. And that right there allows people to lean into it and to capture what they just said. And their brain's like, okay. And then they say, identity, message, and skills. And so what I want to do is I want to walk you through these 3 different things today. And the first one's going to be identity. And once again, right there's a pause.
Oh, interesting. Wow. That's cool.
People are able to lean in. And also, if you watch Tony, his mouth is huge the entire time he's talking. And that's allowing all of the sound to get out. So think about it, like one of the reasons why I struggled moving back to the United States is because in Mexico, I had what a lot of people have is an insecurity about huge teeth and braces. So there was times when I was younger, what I would do right now, and if you're just listening to the podcast, my teeth are covered right now by my lips. And so I'm covering up right here and you can't really see it. And as a result of that, not all the sound is coming out very clear. But what I learned, and I actually talk about this in my book, Speak with Confidence, about how to make sure that you are clearly heard, was I started working to get it so that all the sound could get out of my mouth. And so now, even if you have an accent, even if you have a different kind of tick, maybe you have some different things, now all of the sound can get out and people are able to interpret and hear you better.
That is, wow. Okay. So I just got something from my own podcast. I typically don't selfishly, I think this is the first time ever I've said, okay, let's turn this on me for a minute. I typically don't do that, but it's so funny because I've had so many people just say, man, dude, I love your passion. Your energy is off the charts, but slow down. I can't understand you. Now, how you explained it, pause. I think I probably can handle that, although I'm 100 miles an hour. It's just who I am. Passion is oozing out of every cell of my body. So that's never going to change, right? But I think pausing, opening your mouth a little bit, those are 2 really good. Because I will tell you, I've always been, the last 20 or so years, insecure about my teeth. And my teeth aren't horrible, but I'm thinking about Invisalign and some other, a little bit vulnerable here. So I do what you say. I am more closed mouth. Yeah. And that's interesting that you say that I'm like, holy shit, that's what I do. And now I don't really close it up all the way. And I do open it up, because it's not like I've got horrible teeth, but, I just am self-conscious about it. Kind of like when you were as a child with the braces and all that. So it's very similar. So what you just said, the listeners right there alone, even if you're a leader in your company, giving a company talk, you just said 2 things of gold. Pause so people can lean into it. Yep. Open your mouth to articulate. That is, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, and I actually have 2 chapters on each one of this. So let me lean into this even a little bit more with you right here. Like you said something here, let me push back. You said it's just who I am. And really, it's part of who you are, but you don't want something that's like, for example, I'm what's called an activator, according to the Clifton Strengths Finder. So I'm an activator. That means if I have an idea, I want to do it now. That's my wiring. That's how I'm labeled. So I need to lean in and have some places where I can really go for that and have that energy and have that excitement and have that passion and hit it. I need to create places. However, I also have a budget so that I don't spend all my money on trying new things. I want to create some, but I don't want to create all. In other words, those things that make us, those are one of many, and you don't want one thing to control you. Think about this. If you are like the type of person who loves to sleep in, great, that's awesome. Some people love to sleep in. That's not me. My wife's more on that side. Some people, they love to work out. Great, go for it. Some people don't like to. Great, go for it. So there's all these different things that we have, but we can't let one of the areas of our life, one of the areas of our passion and personality control the rest of us. Because if you let that one sleeping in, or if you let that working out, you could end up not having any time for your family or whatever it might be. And so you say like, I got this passion, but you want that passion in control. Think about like a stallion horse is out of control, power, but unrestrained. What you want to do, and what you do when you break a horse, is you don't diminish the power, but what you do is you take all of that power and you put it in control. And so all of the different things when it comes to speaking, and I have a whole section on just the skills of speaking, and all of the different skills of speaking are to get it in control, not to change who you are. In fact, the whole framework I use in my book, Speak with Confidence, is first of all, understand who you are, understand what you want to say, then put on the skills. And the skills go, okay, for example, maybe you're a very tall person, and so don't wear stripes that go up and down because it's going to make you even look taller. Or if you're a really wide person, you don't go stripes that go horizontal because it makes you look even bigger and broader, for example. And so you are using colors and you're using style of clothes to help you enhance what you want to look like. And that's what speaking skills are. So the pause becomes a speaking skill, and the enunciation, clarity, becomes a speaking skill. Because the worst thing is if you have a great message and no one can understand it. I mean, think about someone printing your book, and for some reason the whole book smears. You got this great book called Dominate Your Market, and yet no one can read it because they open it up. And you're like, well, it's just the printer. But that's okay. I get that the printer was wrong. Go get the printer that does it right. Likewise with speaking, we want to learn into skills that are going to enhance what we do.
God, what a good analogy. I love that right there. Smeared content in your book. Nobody can read it. So the writer is saying, it's a killer book, man. It's a great book. Well, I can't read the damn thing. So you said, we could end the podcast right now because you said some nuggets. We're not going to do that. but I appreciate this. I think everybody, even solopreneurs, that most of the listeners are CEOs, business owners, and founders of this podcast, and that's my client base. But a lot of people are listening, solopreneurs, right? Even within their company, what you're talking about, everybody can implement this, right? Even with your family, for God's sake, right? So this stuff is so powerful. One thing I want to talk about real quick is some people really have this sense of like presence, like you just know it, right? It's like, whoa, who is that person? And I think you mentioned the it factor, and it's been told before, right? Everybody's heard that before, but talk about that a little bit, like especially from a speaking standpoint. What is that? How do people have it? And why do some people just sort of blend in? They just sort of they're like camouflaged in, even if they're a speaker. What talk about that a little bit? Because I like the idea of the it. I like the it factor. I think the it factor makes you stand out. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and once again, I'm just touching on stuff that I write on. And so I have a little booklet. It's called like the Identity Workbook. I don't really promote it. It's something I use with some of my clients. It's to help them understand who they are and to map it out.
Oh, nice.
And then I have Speak with Confidence, and I have courses and programs, right? And so this is all stuff that I'm working with, because what differentiates someone who just blends in from someone who stands out?
Right.
What makes you you? So a lot of times what we do is we try to focus on the external first. So even the stuff that I gave you before, those nuggets, a lot of people are like, hey, just teach me what to do. I'm like, okay, I can do that. But that's like you coming to me after working out and being outside and taking a jog and saying, give me some clothes to put on. I'm like, well, you stink. If I put on new clothes, you might look good, but you're still going to smell bad. And so what we need to do first, before we grab a hold of skills, is go to what's happening with the person. And this is really the distinctive, because anybody can do and dress a certain way. Go look at what Brad Pitt is wearing or whoever your fashion icon is and buy the same clothes. And you can look that way, but you're not going to have the same presence. And really, the skills are different things, like different principles that you can apply to the different identities that wear it. So just like clothes. So let's go to really, where does executive presence come from? Where does the it factor come from? It doesn't come from what you do. That's part of it. That's the external showing of it. It doesn't even come from what you say, although that's a huge aspect. You really can't be a thought leader if you're not sharing some thoughts that are unique or different take on them. But ultimately, who are you? And so I'm a huge believer in studying who you are. Like, do every single personality test you can do. Like, do the DISC, do the Clifton Strengths Finder, do Myers-Briggs, do the Enneagram, do the which friend's character are you? No, just kidding. That's just for entertainment. But do those different personality profiles and dive in. And then use something like the identity workbook, where you're diving in going, okay, who am I? What am I like? And what am I good at? Where do I shine? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my proclivities? And really understanding that, because a lot of times people jump over here and they try to match their identity to someone else that they think they should be like. Well, I want to be like Mike. I want to be like so-and-so. I want to be like that person. And then they try to learn the skills to look like that person. And so you become a poor imitation of someone else instead of becoming the best version of yourself. And really, when you look at it, you got to say, who am I? Okay. And I give some really great things that you can do on this in the book. I talk about how a filter for understanding perceived and received and personal criticism. And I go through a whole bunch, but ultimately what you really want to be doing is you want to be saying, who am I? And your identity is made up of so much. Your identity is made up of your beliefs, your values, your ethnicity, your languages, your failures, your successes, your parents, the lack of parents, your business changes, your education, and all these different areas. And it comes down to, who am I? And what I like to have people do is write up an identity statement. Now, once you know who you are, like, it could have some aspirational aspects to it, but it's got to be really ultimately who you are. Because if you say, I am the best basketball player ever. Well, I'm 6'1", I'm in my 40s. Haven't played since I was ninth grade. So really, no matter how hard I try right now, that is not, even if I aspire to that to be part of my identity, I can't make that part of my identity. It's already locked in by people like LeBron James and Steph Curry and Michael Jordan, et cetera. I just can't do that. But I can say I'm one of the most influential writers on speaking. And I'm really close to that. And it's true part of it. I got one of the top rated books on public speaking, and I got this forthcoming. So, okay, I got it. That's like Mike can say, I am a thought leader when it comes to marketing, in the sense that this, and really niche down. And I am the foremost word on marketing. Okay, probably not, because there's 1,000 types of marketing.
Oh boy. Yeah.
But we can niche down and go, this is who I am. And identity, like, this is what I really hold on to. This is what I value. This is what I believe in. And then from there, you go, okay, this is who I am. That means that there's a lot of things that I am not. And I know some things that I am not. And sometimes I'd like to be that person. I'm just not that person. This is who I am. Okay, shoot. Okay. All right. And then from there, you build on that. You build on your identity. Then you have the right things to say about it, the knowledge about it, and you have the right things to do with it. So when it comes down to executive presence, ultimately you want to lean into, who are you? What then can you say about what you know? What niche can you really focus in on and be a thought leader about it? If you think about Einstein, he's not known for his fashion sense. He's known for his theoretical physics. He's known for that. And really, what are you known for? What's the thought? You can't be good to everything and know everything. And then what can you do with what you know?
It's so interesting. This is the first podcast that I've selfishly listened to everything you said. I'm selfishly listening to this. It's crazy. Because I really am a giver. I'm like, give it, and everything you said is applicable to everybody listening. But for me, I'm going to come back again to something that you said with identity. I'm selfishly thinking now, again, on this podcast about me. And I never do that. I don't do that. This is for everybody else, but I think people can learn from this. So when I wrote my book, Dominate Your Market, it was 25 years of my background I dumped in this book. And it goes back to my identity, which was I was a private fitness trainer at top of my game in Portland, Oregon, training male CEOs in their homes. These men were very powerful men, were $60 million, $100 million. And I jived with them. And circle back around to today, I consult with those very same people on business development. So the book kind of covers my fitness background, but it also covers self-development, mindset, and then of course, revenue growth. So when you talk about identity, the book was cathartic for me. And it kind of got me thinking, kind of narrowing down to what I have to offer. But I will tell you this, that I got out of fitness way back in the day because people don't give a crap about fitness. They really don't. Our country, unfortunately, is heavier than we've ever been. We're one of the fattest countries in the world. So if I come with an angle of fitness, I'm going to fall flat on my face. So if anybody wants to bring up fitness, that's a client of mine. And I will have posts on LinkedIn that talk about fitness because it's a big part of who I am.
Yeah.
It's huge. Mike and fitness, it's yin and yang, 100%. But now you've got me thinking this identity thing. So I'll go buy your book, the identity one, because I think it's brilliant. And I think now I want to put it back on the listeners. This is something that everybody really needs to figure out, like really dive deep on who the hell you are, what do you offer? And you've got me thinking I'm going to get off this podcast and I got 2 more to go today. I'm going to be thinking, wow, like the book took me to another level, but it still didn't refine who am I? Who am I that makes me different than all? There is a million business development people. There are millions of marketing people. There are millions of CMOs. What makes me different and what can I offer the marketplace that men, typically these male CEOs, that's who I work with, will find appealing? So you've got me really thinking now.
Well, even when you look at identity, think about, and so you're listening to Mike's podcast, you're going through this, you're thinking, okay, who am I? How do I have the it factor? What sets me apart? Write down, and this is what the identity workbook kind of helps out people do, and then which is really just an extension of Speak with Confidence. And it's this whole idea of, okay, brainstorm who you are, figure out who you are, what makes you you. And so I love to just relax with friends and family. So I'm a fairly social person. Okay, there's that part right there. I can easily kind of get serious with friends and talking about like what's the next for them, kind of encouraging them. I love seeing people succeed. A lot of things I have to do around communication. And then there's this whole aspect of confidence, overcoming fear, nervousness, anxiety, stepping out their risk. Okay, so now when you look at my life, you look at this theme: communication, confidence, social. Okay, those 3 become a huge part of it. And really, why are those so big? Because I want people and I want myself to really realize the potential. And I want speaking and everything that goes with communication to people realize their potential. And then I'm really about people. So then when I look at my whole mission, it becomes, I want to help people realize their potential. Okay, that's what I'm about. So when I look at even my son's the kid book that I wrote with my son, it was about this fun, like, let me see what I can do, realize potential. Let me see what I can do for someone. It's helping Paxton see what he can do and the adventure part. Okay, I have one spiritual book that I kind of released kind of on the slide. Okay, that's part of it too. And then all these communication and connection and leadership books, realize potential, realize potential, realize potential. And so when you look at it, that's kind of part of my identity is I want to help people realize their potential by speaking with confidence, hence the book. And when people look at it, go, what are you into? I love developing businesses. I'm a builder. I love developing new team members. And I love creating, I keep on building new houses and doing that. Okay, so you're a developer. Look at it and go, I like to develop the things in life. I like to get them in a mess and develop them and then hand off to somebody else, for example. Or for you, it might be about finding your fitness in marketing, your fitness in your body, your fitness elsewhere. And you start looking at these different things going, for me, it's all about this. It's all about the fitness that you have in your business. Your business isn't fit. Let's make it fit. Your body isn't fit and your personal development isn't fit. So it might be that word fitness, and it's part of this theme. And what I would encourage people to do is look for different themes and then develop around that theme. And really that becomes part of your identity. Your identity is bigger than just that, but it's part of your identity. And then you build off of that. And I say this again and again and again. It's not in this book, but it's in other ones. Don't try to be a poor imitation of someone else. Really work on being the best version of you.
Well, you just said a phrase right there. The last phrase you just said, I feel like my talent is helping people become the best version of themselves, because it comes down to health, well-being, mindset, and then that all equals what? Success in personal and business life. And that's what the book's all about. It's all about combining those elements to become the best version of yourself, which then equals a successful business, equals a successful life, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of what I do, but it seems, and I don't want to, this isn't about you working with me right now, but it's still broad. And I think for a lot of people listening, you know, I'm kind of exposing myself here on my own podcast, and I'm good with it. That's fine. But I hope a lot of people can understand, like you said, find your identity. Take some of those personality tests. I think that's brilliant, because I will tell you, I've not taken one, not one. And I've heard about all of them, Briggs Meyer, all the ones. So I will do that. I'll take those just to understand kind of who I am better, right? But I think for people, whether you're a CEO, business owner, you're a founder, you're a solopreneur, or you're in a company, or maybe you want to be a better communicator in your family, I think what you do is super, super cool. We could talk about this for a long, long time, but we're running out of time. So I want to wrap this up by, if people want to find out about you, and you've got 10 books out. So is there one website? How can people get in touch with you? I'm going to go buy the books. So that's a given, but because I want to support you, and I think they're going to really help me on my journey, even at the ripe old age of 59. But how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, the biggest encouragement I would have, if you're saying, Mike, what is one thing I should get from you? It really is the newest book. It is 3 years in the making. It is the center point of what I do. And it's Speak with Confidence. Speak with Confidence by Mike Acker on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, etc. It's published through Wiley, so it's a big publishing deal. Pretty excited about that. MikeAcker.com is everywhere I'm at. So nice. MikeAcker.com is the website. MikeAcker.com is all my handles on Instagram or LinkedIn or anywhere else. So connect with me, reach out to me, find out more about it. You go on Amazon, type in Mike Acker, a ton of books will come up, and you can check those out. Workbooks, books, kids' books, all kinds of stuff. But really, Speak with Confidence, red and black cover. I mean, it's going to be huge.
Mike, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to get the book, because I really do feel like it's directly applicable for me, because I do want to do some speaking, by the way. I mean, I feel like I've got it in me. There's something in me that wants to get out in front of people. So I think your book's going to be a catalyst to sort of get me really thinking about it. So thank you so much for your time today. This was amazing. The nuggets you gave, even at the very beginning, is enough for anybody to walk away and go, oh, that's good stuff. So I always hope my podcast guests bring the fire, and you definitely did. So thank you so much.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you, Mike. And to all of Mike's audience, thank you. And I encourage you to check it out. Look forward to hearing more from you.
You've just listened to the Dominate Your Market podcast with CEO, business consultant, and author, Michael Peterson. Growth-minded CEOs hire Michael to explode their revenues, build an amazing company, and create a transformational mindset that encapsulates growth, success, and ultimately happiness. His book, Dominate Your Market, is creating quite a stir in the marketplace. Go to dominateyourmarketbook.com and get your first chapter free.